morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Dev Mentor Dave YouTube and Twitch. Welcome back to the Saturday live stream on Twitch and on YouTube. You can tell I'm not a professional, right? I think that's pretty clear at this point. I am not a professional, at least not at YouTubing or Twitching or whatever. That just sounded even more weird. I should probably stop while I'm behind. Coffee? Anybody? Coffee? I don't think it's gonna help, but we're gonna drink some of it anyway. Yeah, youthful Dave is going by the wayside. Tired Dave is tired Grandpa Dave is more reality. One of these days, I'm gonna actually be a grandpa, and then all this will make sense. Ming is just foreshadowing everything. If you're watching live, jump in the chat, say hello, whether you're watching on YouTube or whether you're watching on Twitch, and join the conversation. We're going to do something a little bit different than I had originally planned to do today. We will eventually get back to our other project, but yeah, Ming says he's a fortune teller. There you go. And I don't know if we'll probably go the whole full 2 hours today. I don't know. I'm not as youthful, like Ming said, I'm not as youthful as I used to be. So we'll just see. I've got some other things that I want to take care of today. So I don't know. We'll see if we go the whole 2 hours. It just depends. So, again, if you're watching live, jump in the chat, say hello. If you want to say something to me specifically or question really more than anything, type at DevMentorDave. That'll just let me know that you're watching live and that you want to get my attention, so that way I will see it, hopefully, and provide an answer, whether it's the right answer. I don't know. It'll be an answer, though. It'll be based on my experience and my opinion, which is based on my experience and my knowledge, and I will say it very confidently as if it is the truth, no matter what. So there. So what are we going to do today? I thought we might do something just a little bit more simple. Ming says, I had an interview last week. Friday they said they'll get back to me. The following Monday followed up consistently, but still haven't heard anything. Yeah, I'll just be... Excuse me, man. I'll be honest with you. When you're looking for a job and people don't respond back to you, it can feel like they're just ignoring you. I can tell you, having been on both sides, there are probably instances where companies are just ghosting you. But having been on the side of an interviewer, it's not always on the... So like as an interviewer in my company, I'm not the one that makes the final decision. I'm not the one who does the actual hiring in our company. I do the interviewing. I give my opinion. I sometimes even will champion for people specifically if I really want them in the organization. But ultimately, that's up to somebody else in the organization to actually pull the trigger on that hire. And they may be delaying for multiple reasons. Maybe circumstances have changed and they don't really have the money to buy someone, to hire someone, or maybe they were able to cover some of the things that they thought they needed somebody for. So there's lots of reasons why it may be delayed. Now usually it's, hopefully it's not a situation where it was a fake job, or they're just trying to get people to see what is out there, in the workplace. Hopefully if they're actually interviewing, then there's a real position, even if they do fill that internally. But just from my experience, sometimes the process feels faster at the beginning because there's more of a desire, especially from the interviewer standpoint. There's a little bit more urgency sometimes than there is from like a back office standpoint. So just because there's a delay and just because you're not hearing anything back doesn't mean that they're intentionally ghosting you. Now, I don't always interact with people outside of the interview. Usually that's, again, more of a back-end situation with our management team. So I don't really know for us, what that communication looks like. Um, but if somebody does contact me, I'll be honest with them and let them know that I don't really know necessarily where we're at in the process. And that's kind of up to somebody else, and I'll pass on their information. But um, but I think we need to be careful to not. Oh, hey, we got Moz is over here on the YouTube. Sorry, I just saw that. I wonder if I can make that a little bit bigger. Hang on. Do do do. Yeah, I can. There we go. All right. YouTube will be a little bit bigger here so I can see it. It's, sorry, Moz. I'm just going to use the first three letters of your name, unless you want to tell me what your real name is, or tell me something else to call you, and I'll try to remember. Um, Anyway, all right. So what was I saying? Oh, I wouldn't necessarily feel ghosted. I know everybody likes to throw that term around. Um, Sorry, hang on a second. Oh, people send me texts. And they don't know what I'm doing all the time. Okay, so I wouldn't necessarily feel ghosted. Meaning, again, even following up and not getting an answer, it could be they just don't have an answer for you yet, because they don't know for sure what their next step is. And again, that sounds like maybe incompetence sometimes, but having been on both sides, it's not necessarily incompetence. It's just a matter of busyness. Quite frankly, sometimes it's just a matter of it's not an urgent need, but we know that it is a need, and so we're hiring for it. But maybe we're too busy. The people who are involved are too busy to actually make the final decision. So there's lots of reasons why they may not be moving forward at the pace that we as a candidate would like for them to move forward. So that's one thing I would just encourage you. Again, I know you've been through, specifically meaning you've been through a lot when it comes to the interview process. So um, hopefully you'll get something a little bit more concrete from them soon. I do say that you definitely should hear back from people if they interview you. If the company interviews you, the company should at least contact you and let you know either way, in my opinion, rather than just ghosting you. So, I mean, if you do continue to contact them and it goes on for 2 or 3 weeks and you never hear back, that's a problem. Do people get busy? Yes, but I mean, we live in no matter what type of position we're in, no matter what type of job we're in, communication is still really important. Even with developers need good communication, and candidates for development need good communication as well. So, I think I think we all need to do a better job. And I think you're doing a good job, Ming, of jumping in there and asking for feedback too. So at some point, that's about all you can do. But I would just encourage you, understand that there's a lot more going on in the business than you might think about, So just because they don't have an answer for you yet doesn't mean they're intentionally trying to avoid you, right? So, okay. Yeah, they really need another dev if they've only got one dev in their startup. All right, so here's what I thought about. For those of you who don't follow me on LinkedIn, first of all, you should, because I don't post that often, so it's not like you're going to get a bunch of crap in your feed from me. But I made a joke earlier this week, and I've kind of been following along that path. So I wanted to share it with you guys. So here's what happened. So I walked in, got into work. I typically go in on Mondays and Wednesdays to work, to the actual office, and I get in there, and we have one of those. Keurig coffee makers, and it's pretty nice. I mean, it's easy. You grab a coffee pod, you put it in there, yada yada. I'm usually the first person in the office if I'm going in, and so I'll typically get it all running and turned on and filled and all that fun stuff. So there's a little bit of a process for me. It's not like I'm complaining because I do nothing, right? I am involved in this process. So anyway, I came in and I opened. We have our pods in the drawer in the counter, and there was one coffee pod left, and I literally thought, should I drink this? And especially because Wednesday we had a lot of people coming into the office. We actually had a client come into the office, so we try to fill up the office as much as we can when a client is there, just so it looks a little bit better for the company, rather than a lot of other days where you could watch a tumbleweed roll through, since we have a nice work from home policy. So I pulled open the drawer. There's one pod sitting there, and I was like, oh man, well, I'll at least let the office manager know that there's only one pod, but I'm going to go ahead and drink it because I'm the only person here, and not everybody drinks coffee. There's Red Bull in the fridge. Some people drink that. So, there you go. So I started down this path. So I sent a message to our office manager, just letting him know that, hey, this is the last pod. And it started off really as just a message to him, trying to be a little lighthearted and put some humor around it. And after I sent it to him, I was like, this would make a funny little LinkedIn post. If you follow me, you know that I vacillate widely between trying to be funny on LinkedIn and trying to be serious on LinkedIn and give advice. I'm not very good at marketing, so I'm not very good at having a focused channel. I pretty much just kind of say stuff as it comes to my mind when it comes to LinkedIn. So most of my stuff is not really planned. So anyway, so I jumped over to LinkedIn and I took what was my my original post, or my original message to somebody internally, and I kind of enhanced it a little bit. And so this was the statement. Now, there's a reason why I'm going to go through all this stuff, so just bear with me. So I said, here we go. Move that over. Okay. So I said, I took the last coffee pod. No shame, no guilt, no remorse, no care for my fellow man. Just my need for bean-flavored water that I mask with sugar and artificial milk products, which is absolutely true. I'm good at sales-driven development on this stream. I don't know how that works. So I said, future me looks on in disgust at my actions, but I don't care. It was there, and so was I, and it was mine. Oh, I should probably tell someone that we're out of coffee. And that's funny. So I got a couple comments actually from coworkers on that, and they were laughing. So that was Wednesday. And I thought, it's somewhat humorous. So I thought, well, maybe I'll follow it up with something on Thursday, right? So of course Thursday I had to add to the saga. So update on the coffee pod saga from yesterday. My selfishness, it seems, became a strange gift to the entire company. In my greed, I cleared the path for abundance. Fresh, gourmet coffee was ushered in, steaming hot and plentiful for all. Alas, I never tasted a drop. I had already filled my cup with the stale bitterness of a mass-produced pod mixed with powdered regret. I am both villain and martyr, watching with envious eyes as others enjoy what my actions had procured. I will not return to the office until Monday, but the echoes of my choice may still linger. I've heard rumblings of bagged coffee making its way to the kitchen. Perhaps this change was inevitable. Or perhaps I found my calling as the instigator of improvement. Time will tell. To be continued, or not. And it was to be continued, because Friday, I left this much, much longer post. And again, this is leading up to what we're going to do today. All right, so it says coffee inventory is very important. All right, I've learned this the hard way. Since taking on the mantle of slightly disgruntled employee, not for my own sake, but for my brothers in code, I feel compelled to make a small amends to my employer. Here, kind reader, is a reminder that we build custom software for managing inventory, sales, and virtually any other business process. Of course, we had no such system to prevent pod-related tragedy, but I digress. If you need help tracking inventory, speeding up business processes, or simply making your software work for you rather than against you, give us a call. But don't forget your most important inventory item, coffee. No, Red Bull doesn't count. Sorry, Red Bull people, it doesn't count. All right? For the good of the office, for the honor of my caffeine-starved brothers, I have made a decision. No longer shall we live in a world where pods vanish without warning. No longer shall a single unfortunate soul face the bitter sting of empty cups. I shall endeavor to vibe code a coffee inventory system. No, every pod shall be tracked, every cup accounted for, every caffeinated transaction logged in the annals of office history. Some may call me villain, some savior, but all shall drink and be caffeinated. Claude, don't fail me now. So that, gentle watcher, is what we're going to do today. I am actually going to follow through on this just really for the fun of it, and see what we can come up with Claude and a little vibe coding. Of course, we'll stick with my favorite situation, or stack, which would be Laravel and Vue. No React, late mean. So no React, but just Vue and Laravel and Claude, and we'll throw in some Claude Boost here as well, and all the fun stuff. So yeah, so that's a good point, Ming. So collaborating on the coffee app, this is just for inventory. Yours is more for sales, I think. But yeah, maybe we should collaborate on it. There you go. Except mine's going to be vibe coded, and then come Monday, I'm going to talk about however this went, and continue the saga. So we'll see. I think that'll probably be the end of it, though, because I don't think I'm not going to actually do anything else coding wise on this. But yeah, React is everywhere. That would not be a stack I would like. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up with a prompt, and I'm gonna kind of just let it go, and hopefully I have enough tokens from Claude by the time we're done. Actually, you know what? We'll do this part in ChatGPT. Actually, I take that back. This Claude is not my pro Claude. Yeah. Okay. So I will use this Claude. So here's what I want to do. I want to use AI to help with AI writing my application, right? So I'm going to vibe code. I am going to keep it fairly vibe codey, though, because I don't want to I want to follow through with what I said in the post. So I actually want to vibe code it, so I don't want to put too much thought into it, quite frankly. Because it'll be more interesting to see how bad it does, or how well it does. And so I don't want to put too much into it, but we will do some things that I would do even if I were trying to vibe code, or I should say use AI to help me in that process. So sorry, hang on 1 second, because I got a text and I think it's gonna pop up. I think. Okay. Sorry. Other things going on in life. Okay, so let me get back over here. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is let's set up the environment first. So I'm gonna do Laravel new coffee inventory. Coffee inventory. Man, I cannot type today. Good thing we're gonna let Claude do it. Starter kit view, not that React junk. Laravel's built-in authentication. Do I want authentication? Sure. We'll use pest, even though we probably won't have it write any tests. Download, install. I'm going to create a database. Let's see. We will use... Let's use Postgres just for fun. and create a new database. You can't see this because it's got some other stuff in it that I can't show you. We'll call this coffee. The coffee database. Boom. Okay. So now I can move this over here. You guys can see that. Okay. Would you like to run npm? Sure. Why not? Okay. And in here, I'm going to open open folder. Coffee inventory. Bada bing. All right. So there's all of our Laravel stuff. Now, ba-dum-bum-bum. Okay. So cd coffee. All right, let's do, so we're going to instantiate Claude. What? Oh, huh. I guess it helps if you don't put slash in front of it. Boop-a-doop-a-doo. So, to answer your question, meaning Claude Pro or Pro Claude is just, it's a paid, subscription for Claude that includes Claude Code access. So let's do init. It's just looking to see what I have, which is basically just a Laravel instance. And I don't want Copilot. Pull up the terminal. I could have done it. Probably should have done it in here. And actually, let's do a new window. Now that Claude is it done yet? It's something weird. Oh, never mind. I don't need to do that. Bloop, go away. I can do extensions. Claude code. Why has it got to update again? Anyway, whatever. All right, so now I've got my Claude extension loaded. I don't know why. Sometimes it seems to load automatically in here. Sometimes it doesn't, which is kind of annoying. Let's see if we can increase our screen size a little bit. There we go. Okay, now I want to open my env file. And I really don't like this. All right, there we go. Now I like my Claude code on the right side for some reason. I prefer that. Okay, so I need to change this, and I always forget it's PDSQL. I can tell you shortly. Database or config database. Driver PG school. I don't know why I always see PD. PD doesn't make sense, but there you go. Okay, so got this. This is going to be 5432. Database is coffee. This is Postgres. And I think there's no password on it. We'll find out. Okay. So we've got our environment file updated. We've got Claude code running in our IDE. Yep, create the Claude MD file. So Claude MD file is just a markdown file that allows you to, that gives Claude some context, right? And if you were putting this into an existing code base, then it would pull in, it would do a lot more research of what you're doing, right? So right now it's telling me this is all I know about this, which is just basically a Vue starter kit Laravel. So let's go ahead and exit out of this. Oops. Hey, what do you know? I figured it out. And then I want to add something else called Laravel Boost. And Laravel Boost is an MCP server that come on. There we go. That assists your AI coding, whether that's, Claude or Cursor or something else, right? It gives it some more rules around how to do things the Laravel way, right? So that's kind of cool. Anyway, we are going to add that in here. Composer require Laravel boost dash dev, because it's not a production thing. It's only for development. And then we'll do PHP artisan. Is it boost install, I think? Yes. Okay. So we're going to install the MCP server with 15 tools. We're going to install the AI guidelines for Laravel, Inertia, and other tool sets. And then we're going to do the... We're not going to do the herd MCP server. Even though I am using herd, I'm not really worried about that. So Cloud Code, VS Code, yes, for both of those. And the agent I'm using is Cloud Code. So that's all good. Uh-oh. Cache does not exist. Undefined table. Okay, let's do PHP artisan migrate. All right, that all got in there. Let's check our table. Let's check our database here. All right, that worked. So it's in the actual database. Let's do this. PHP artisan migrate fresh -- seed. So I'm telling it to drop everything, put all the tables back in, and then seed any tables that we have seeders for, which I think is just the user table here. Yeah. So there's nothing else really in here other than the migrations. So, all right. So test user is test@example.com. I'm going to come up here to herd. And I can't show you this again because I've got some work stuff in here. But I'm going to scroll down. What PHP version am I using? Please tell me I'm using the right one. PHP. I'll check that in a minute. Okay, so this is coffeeinventory.test. I'm going to turn on SSL just so it makes it a little bit better. And we'll open it up over here. Okay, so coffeeinventory.test. That's what we have. Everything is awesome. Everything is awesome. All right, 8.4. Yeah, it's fine. All right, so let's log in. Again, we're using a starter kit, so this makes all of this a whole lot easier, right? So test@example.com. Oops. Example.com. Password. All right, and we have just the basic Laravel starter kit dashboard layout. One other thing that we're going to need to do here is npm run. Did we do install? I think we did install, right? npm install. npm run dev. So we've got, oh, stink, hang on. All right, kill that. Let's come back over to our code in our environment file. We need to update this, HTTPS, and this is coffeeinventory.test. Save that, and then if we restart this, it should give us, yes, coffeeinventory.test. Okay, perfect. So come back over here somewhere. All these things are annoying. Okay, so we've got, I like the code here, and I like this here. Okay, it won't stay there for some reason. I don't understand why the desktops don't stay where I put them, but for some reason they don't. Okay, and we'll log back in. Okay, so everything should be running with Vite, or Vite, as everybody seems to call it. It's probably because it's the right way to pronounce it, but whatever. Okay. So everything is set up now. Let's go to Claude, and let's start with asking it to give us a prompt that is that's going to tell Claude how to act, right? Okay, so give me a prompt that will, we'll call it a system prompt. Okay, so we'll call it a system prompt that for an LLM to create. Let's see. What do I want to say? To create to architect, and develop a Laravel Vue inertia app based. Have you ever coded when you're in a food coma? No, I don't think so. I'm pretty good about eating. If you could see the rest of me, you'd know that I'm pretty good about eating. I don't usually get into food comas. Laravel Vue inertia app uh, based on criteria I give in following or in successive chats. All right, let's see what it comes up with. All those burgers, baby. All right, Laravel Vue. Let's see. You're an expert full stack developer specializing in Laravel Vue and Inertia.js applications. Your role is to architect, design, and develop complete web applications based on user requirements provided in successive conversations. I actually like this pretty good. Core technology stack: Laravel, Vue.js, Composition API. Good call on the Composition API. Bridge, Inertia.js for seamless spa experience. Tailwind CSS. Sure. Build to Vite. Database, MySQL, PostgreSQL. Let's do this. Let's say, assume we are using herd, and that we always have npm run dev active. So one of the things that I've noticed with coding with Claude Code, especially if you're doing any vibe coding stuff, is it wants to run like PHP Artisan Serve, things like that you don't need to do if you're already running herd or something else, some other server. And then also it wants to tell you to run npm build, npm run build, things like that, and that's just not necessary. So anyway, let's go back and read through what we've got here. Development environment. Laravel herd is a local development environment. Vite dev server is always running via npm run dev. Hot module replacement is available. No need to provide build deployment commands. Good. All code should work seamlessly with herd's automatic domain management. Good. Database connection to assume herd's default MySQL. Unless specified otherwise, we'll leave that. We're using Postgres for this. Yeah, well, it wouldn't, because it's trying to make me happy, not you happy. So it wouldn't be telling me that React is available. All right, architecture planning, design database schema, proper relationships, nice. Plan API endpoints and controller structure. Map out component hierarchy and page structure. Consider authentication authorization requirements. Yeah, plan for proper error handling. Good. Okay, backend development. Migrations, eloquent models and relationships, controllers, single repository principle. That's okay. Implement proper request validation. Set up middleware. Create resources, transformers for consistent API. Blah blah blah. View reusable components. That's good. Implement proper validation emits. I think, is Wayfinder already in here? Let's see. JS. Yeah, Wayfinder. So Wayfinder's already installed, which is nice. If you don't know what Wayfinder is, so Wayfinder goes through, looks at your backend application, and then it generates front end types for so that automatically have all of the parameters built in based off of the backend like models and things like that. So it's pretty cool. Let's see. I don't know if it's a fly or something. It's bothering. Okay. Inertia, probably configured, blah, blah, blah. Code quality standards, best practices. Yeah. Okay, this is pretty good. Response format. When providing code solutions, architecture overview. Oh, here's one thing I always want to make sure. Make sure you always respond in as few, respond to the user in as few tokens as possible. I hate it. I hate it when AI responds with this massive explanation of things. I'm a developer. I don't need a ton of explanation. If I want more explanation, I'll ask you for it. If more explanation is required, I know it's not spelled right. The user will ask. The user will ask. All right. It'll get it. All right. So we'll update that just a little bit. Communication style. Probably be updating the communication style here. Yeah. Okay, the rest of this looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to copy this and I'm going to create a new chat. All right, and I'm going to use this new chat. Welcome those who are watching live. Jump in the chat, say hello. If you have a question, type at DevMentorDave, and I will try to see it. That'll catch my attention a little bit faster too, by the way, and I'll try to respond. For those of you who don't know what we were doing, long explanation. I made some jokes on LinkedIn, and so now I'm actually kind of following through on the last joke on Friday. So hit up my LinkedIn profile if you want to know what those are. You can see the post there. It's a little bit of a saga about something that happened in the office, which was, I made it humorous, and it wasn't really a big deal, but I turned it into a big deal just for fun. So now we're vibe coding an application that I don't really know exactly what it's going to look like. So there we go. All right. So but I'm trying to do this in a way that, you know, if I were actually doing this, I would want this done. Okay. So we'll start with the system prompt that we just created. I pasted that in. We've got this in here. And then here is my actual user prompt. So create a complete inventory management system for managing purchasing and inventory for Keurig. Is that right? I don't know. Let's find out. Nope, that's not going to be helpful. Keurig. Oh, just one G. Boop, boop, boop. Keurig. Oh, this needs to be there we go. Coffee pods for a development office kitchen. Development office kitchen. Okay. I thought that was right. Keurig. Yeah. What's the problem? It just doesn't recognize it. Okay. So that is all the prompt I'm going to give it. So, well, that's not all the prompt. Okay, let's do this. Provide a full checklist of prompts that can be used by Claude Code to ensure all aspects of the application are developed in a logical manner, specific, I don't know. Specifically, who cares? Specifically. In reference to, man, this is not a good day. Sorry. In reference to dependencies. Feel free to use any popular Laravel packages. And let's see. Every single browser benchmark ever done will not agree with that statement. Let's see. Welcome, Dan. Feel free to use any popular Laravel packages that seem relevant. Man, if you have questions about the functionality, now is the time to ask. All right. So, really vague prompt, but here's what I wanted to do. I wanted to give us basically a checklist of something that will allow Claude Code to kind of just run through. And hopefully I have enough tokens. We might hit a token limit here before our time is up. Because I'm gonna kind of just let it run loose and see what it creates along the way. Let's see. If you have questions, all right. So let's give it this. Hopefully, it's gonna grab this system prompt. I mean, surely it read it. Who can perform different actions? User management permissions. Let's see. So, no need for role-based management at this time. I like to try to answer all these just in one chat. Inventory track. Do you want to track individual pod consumption or just bulk inventory levels? Inventory or track individual pod consumption based on flavor. Ha ha! Based on flavor. So ChatGPT, there is no token limit. There is. They just changed the model on you. And I'm talking about the token for my Claude Code, actual coding part. So I wouldn't probably use it up here. Individual pod consumption for based on flavor, as well as what was the question? Bulk depletion. Do you need expiration date tracking? No. Expiration date tracking. Let's see. Who approves the purchase orders? Don't worry about approvals. Let's see. Do you need vendor management? No vendor management. Should the system auto-generate purchase orders when stock? No purchase orders. Orders, just email alerts. How's that? Dashboard reports. Surprise me. But use the built-in Laravel dashboard. Let's see. Email notifications. Kind of answered that already. Who receives what notification types? All users receive notifications. No other integrations. Once you clarify these points, provide constant. Boom. Do it. All right. Let's stop this. Hang on. All right. Hang on. Good start. But let's put all of this in a .md file. Okay. So we've got database migrations that it thinks should be created. Interesting. I'm not going to spend a lot of time reading through this because I want it to be fairly vibe coded. So we'll just let it create what it wants to create. But I can't just bring myself to say, hey, build this. I have to give it a little bit of structure. It's the senior dev in me. Services and backend pages, logic, controllers. All right, we'll see how this works. Development notes, but deployment considerations, don't care about that. Development notes. Inertia, breeze. Don't need breeze. Okay. We're using a starter kit for Laravel, so no need for breeze or user management. Something else in here I thought I saw. Also, no need for roles based on my previous answer. All right. I said I wouldn't read through the whole thing, but something caught my eye there, and I just wanted to make sure. It is annoying that it doesn't seem to. I should have told it that we're using the Vue starter kit from the beginning, but you forget these things. References. Okay, now let's copy it. Copy. I could download it, but that just takes too long. Okay. And I'm just going to put this in our base directory. So coffee app instructions.md. All right, and I hate this. Why is it always showing up over there? Terminate that. Pull it up over here. Okay. We'll save this MD file. All right, so I already have this file open and I'm in it, and Claude Code recognizes this. So I'm gonna talk about this specific file, and I don't have to reference it because it recognizes we're already here. So here's what we're gonna do. Give me a summary of the instructions in this file and how you create a checklist for developing this application. Reading 199 lines. That's all we've put in here. 200 lines of information. We'll see what it does. And all of that was generated by Claude based on very little input, quite frankly. So we'll see how it goes. Required packages, Ziggy, Laravel activity log. We really don't need the activity log, but I'll let it do it. Checklists. Phase 1 foundation. Blah, blah, blah. It's a comprehensive development checklist for building a Keurig coffee pod inventory management system. That is a mouthful. A Keurig coffee pod inventory management system. I should name it that too. Just for spite. Using the Laravel plus Vue.js inertia stack, application tracks coffee pod consumption, manages inventory levels, sends low stock alerts, and provides analytics. I don't know how it's going to do that because I haven't really thought through this yet. I just said I was going to vibe code something. So there you go. Development phases, blah, 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 blah. Right. Complete each page. We're moving on to the next page. Let's begin. All right, so it's going to start here, and it's going to ask me to approve the first file. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, you have permission to just do everything, basically. And we'll see if we can follow what it does. All right, composer require. Yes, and don't ask again for composer commands. Boom. I'll have to do this a few times as we go through, just because it's not going to just do anything that it wants, but I have to give like each type of thing, you have to give it permission to do. Or like if I'm doing actual coding with Claude in this type of environment, I'm going to go through and I'm going to approve everything that it writes. So I would go through and I would actually look at the things, look at the updates that it's making here. What is it running? This is just running commands here, but when it starts doing code, we'll see it pulling code up for you to actually investigate. At least the first time we will, because I'm going to tell it, stink, I forgot to change it. We'll get back to it. Okay. So we're creating migrations. PHP artisan make. Okay, so But just for example, I'll show you what that looks like. So yes, um, yes. So it's just making the files right now, and then it's going to fill them in. That's usually how it works. All right. And we should see something pop up here. Do, 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 do. I didn't check. It should be using. Okay, so here's what it does. So it gives you the ability to see the things that it's added, right? Which is really nice. Now, at this point, I'm going to just give it free reign to start building because that's what vibe coding is. Um, um, that's a great question, Dan. So Dan says, so you've been streaming for 50 minutes. How far could you have gotten doing this by hand versus setting up this prompt? Is time really being saved, or is this just being used differently? I would say time's being saved, sort of. Um, it's being saved in that it's taking whatever planning that I give it, it's taking it and it's putting it into a way that Claude is going to be able to use it uh, faster than I would be writing all of the individual prompts, right? Now, when it comes down to bugs and things like that, and if I'm actually writing the code, then um, it's something that I would do. I would be more involved in. But I think for somebody who's been developing for a long time, this process actually is faster because we're going to make the same thinking. Uh, we're going to have the same thinking in the process, but especially if you don't type it and mess up all the typing, that's another thing. If you could go from your thoughts virtual, speaking them into text, you'd probably be even faster with this. So I think in some ways it speeds up the coding process, but you still have the planning process. Like if I were doing this on a real application, I would still be spending a lot of time, probably the same amount of time planning as I would um, if I were just doing it all by hand. The nice thing is this is going to do a lot of the. I can have a conversation with it and in the planning phase and even potentially get some feedback on my own plans at the time. Whereas a lot of times when you're just planning things out on your own, you make a plan and then you find out that plan is maybe not the best option. And in this way, you can actually converse with your plan before you put it into action. So I don't know that it's 100% saving time. I think the time that you're saved mostly is going to be on the actual code writing. And I know a lot of people are talking about how that's not really saving time. In the end, it is because it's saving time and it's saving thought. I don't have to think about the code that I'm writing, especially if you have enough guardrails and rules and things like that. And Claude, especially if you're developing on the same application all the time, that makes a difference too, versus jumping from one application to another. So context makes a difference as well. So I think a lot of it depends on what you're doing and how you're doing it, and finding ways to be more efficient in the ways that you're interacting with AI. I think if you can do that, then you're going to find benefits over time, and it's not going to be immediate. It's going to be over time. So um, I think that's the reason why I am pushing myself to use it more, is because I feel like the benefit is going to increase rather than decrease, right? And again, I still want to write code as well. I want to make sure that I'm involved in that process on real things, especially. But for this, we're doing this more of as a joke than anything. So let's let Claude have its way. Go for it, buddy. You can do it. Now, typically with a checklist like this, it'll go through, it'll do a lot of things. I'm going to expand this out a little bit just so you guys can see a little bit more. It'll go through, it'll write a bunch of code, but it'll typically stop at each of these checkpoints in its process. And what I typically would do if I were actually using this on purpose, I would stop and I would test things. Of course, I would also typically have it be writing tests and things like that. Um, and with Pest 4, you can write tests for front end and back end now, which is nice. So that's cool. Let's see. So it's making up all these migrations. So it's building out our migrations, creating database migrations for brands, flavors, inventory, and consumption tracking. Again, I did not give it like actual planning, right? I said just figure this out, basically. So I'm just interested to see what it's going to come up with. PHP Artisan Migrate, sure, and you can run that whenever you want. And now we've moved on to models. So it's not even, that's interesting. It's not even asking to do the next thing. Maybe it'll stop at phase 2. So we'll see. Maybe it's going to do all the checklist items for phase 1. And I think I can do like... what is that? I feel like there's a way to view or to turn off, like if I wanted to not see, oh, it's right here. To escape to interrupt, Control T to hide the to-dos. That's what I was saying. Control T. Okay. That'll give us a little bit more. So that's kind of cool. I really like Claude Code. I've been using it. I mean, technically this is in the terminal, but it's at least integrated in the IDE. But I find it very helpful to write things quickly, and even write things that I may not fully understand. Like maybe I just have an idea and I want to see what it can come up with, and see how it integrates. So, oops. Control T. There we go. I want to see if it's going to stop in the middle of the phase, but we very well, like I said, we very well may hit my token limit. I don't know what the token limit is, but it's a 5-hour limit. So once you hit it, so what Claude Code does is it gives you, or at least a Claude paid account, I should say, it gives you 5 hours from the time you start using it, and if you consume, and it has an estimated number of tokens that it's going to give you for that time period, and they don't tell you what it is. And so the tokens get spent as you're using, Claude Code. And when you run out of tokens, then you just have whatever time is left in your 5 hours that you have to wait until it resets. So that's one of the bad things about just letting Claude Code run through this. I use CodePilot with Claude Sonnet 4, and I think I see the same results as my worker using Claude Code. Coworker using Claude Code. Yeah, I actually have a coworker that uses Copilot as well, without Claude Code. I don't know what LLM they're using, but he's been pretty happy with it too. So yeah, I definitely don't think like Claude Code's the only thing. All right, let's see if it just jumps to phase 2 or if it asks. Okay, yeah. So we've hit phase 2, and now it's wanting to inform me of all the cool things that it did, which is not great because I really don't like all that output. It's a lot of output to be telling me what it did, but completed phase 1, database to see it. Let's check out the database. So database, refresh. We got some more users in here. Coffee admin, John Coffee, Jane Espresso. That's funny. Ah, cute Claude Code. System notifications, sessions, reorder settings. Interesting. Minimum stock, reorder quantity. Interesting. Preferred price. That's okay. Preferred vendor. Interesting. We don't have any jobs. Inventory items. So flavor ID, current stock, All right, let's see. We've got inventory adjustments table. Okay. Flavors. Pike Place roast. I wonder if where it got these. Vanilla, French vanilla, breakfast blend, dark magic. Interesting. Consumption logs. I don't know what the. Oh, that's for. I was thinking of tokens. That's for drinking. Brands. Keurig, Starbucks, Dunkin', Green Mountain Coffee. Interesting. And activity log, which I didn't want necessarily, but whatever. That's cool. Okay. So excellent. This foundation is solid with a well-structured database schema, comprehensive models, and proper relationships. Let's take a look at the models real fast. Again, we're vibe coding. I'm not going to ask it to change anything. I'm just curious to see what we have. App models, flavor, interesting. Casts, brand, inventory, autumn. See, all this stuff I would have to write by hand, which is it terrible? No, but it is monotonous. And I mean, if you can save time doing it, save time doing it. Interesting. Okay, let's go back to our vibe coding here. Partially, I did that to save a little bit of time. Let's see. And to be honest, Dan, we haven't actually been vibe coding that or even using Claude that long. When you said we'd spent 50 minutes so far, so the we spent some time getting the manually getting the application set up at the beginning. I bet we didn't start till probably half past, so we've probably only been maybe even longer. I don't know. So there is that. So not all of that time that we've been on here has been dealing with the LLM. There's a lot of stuff to remove. I would say there's only stuff to remove if you were doing something like this where you're just letting it go. If you are using it within your development process, I find there's a lot less code that needs to be removed or refactored. At least that's for me. So yeah, I think it depends. It depends on how you're using it. If you're using it like this, again, this is just really for fun. I would not recommend doing this for building a real application. So there. All right, so phase 2, do it. So build backend API controllers and business logic. So one of the things that I've noticed when you do something like this with Claude Code and you're just kind of letting it vibe through, it thinks that it's set everything up, but it doesn't always. So especially when it comes to the front end, so like the front end will oftentimes it'll create a bunch of like components and things and pages, but it won't actually add them to the menu to be able to get to them, right? So like simple things like that we would think of as part of our workflow, and I think you could build rules around that to make it better, right? And again, a lot of this comes down to how much tooling and how much rule writing do you want to have. How can you write those rules in such a way that they are project agnostic to where you can reuse them and speed up your development with vibe coding over time. Again, I think we will be able to, but we have to put in the work at the beginning to be better at writing rules or be willing along the way to update rules. I will tell you this though, I have seen, especially in backend development, I have seen these AI coders really drastically improve speed. And because depending on, like if you're using a framework like Laravel and you're following kind of the standard Laravel practices, you can use Boost with it. Using Laravel Boost with Laravel, with like Claude Code or something like that, it's going to follow the way that Laravel intends for you to use Laravel. And as long as you give good instructions on what you expect from a schema standpoint, it really does a very good job of building out basic backend applications. Now, if you're building something more complex, like we are on some of our applications, then it's not necessarily going to be as quick. But I will just say I definitely don't see AI taking over our jobs anytime soon or ever probably. But I do see it becoming more helpful and beneficial for people who are willing to put in some time, maybe even put in some time outside of the job to kind of practice more. I think it just like any tool, you have to practice and learn how to use it in a way that's best going to benefit you, right? This is not the way that you should be using it. You shouldn't just be letting it run through and build stuff randomly. But that eventually we're going to get to a place where we can have the rule sets in place and AI is competent enough to remember to keep following the rules. That's another piece of it, right? So one of the problems with AI is it doesn't always follow your rules that you want it to follow. But with like Laravel Boost, you can add in personal rules for your application, and it will include those in the Boost settings. So that's helpful because it seems to do a pretty good job of following the Boost MCP rules that it generates. So there you go. Let's see. Dan says, I know this is for fun. I'm just not sold on the full on vibe coding. One thing I hate doing is thinking about responsive design. So the other day I designed a page for desktop and said make this page responsive, and it did a good enough job that I only had to make minor adjustments. So I like it, but I'm just not sold on it makes you 4 times. Yeah, I don't think it makes you more productive necessarily. I think it just makes you I mean, to a degree, yes, it makes you more productive. I think it makes certain aspects of the job easier. Especially, I think it frees you up to do things that you want to do more by doing the things you don't want to do that are just that we tend to think of as kind of a time suck, right? And again, I think that's a great use case. And again, I wouldn't call that vibe coding. Like I feel like that's more like using AI as a tool for you for your development process. This is vibe coding where you're just kind of letting it run free. We've probably given it way too much information to actually call it vibe coding still. But this kind of loose vibe coding where we've given it a task, some information, some boundaries, and we're just letting it kind of run with it. Create service classes for inventory and consumption management. Do it. Boom. So yeah, we're just accepting everything that it does. We're not even checking it. So that to me, this is real vibe coding. To me, and what you did, Dan, really is more using a tool, and I think that's where we're going to become more successful and maybe even a little bit happier, quite frankly, as AI gets a little bit better, to where we don't have to spend as much time on boilerplate parts. We can do the part that we enjoy. I feel like the part that I enjoy about writing code is figuring out what to build and how to solve a problem, right? And I don't necessarily want AI doing that. I want AI writing the code that fits in with the problem or the solution that I've created. So I feel like I certainly wouldn't tell somebody that they have to use it, but I feel like we've reached a point where you have to use it in some way. Um, Otherwise, I think you're going to get left behind to some degree. So you find it makes the same design no matter the prompt. Yeah, yeah, that is true. So I've had it do like little basic websites, one page websites, and the design is always very similar. Um, so I don't know. Maybe there's a better way to have it come up with designs. But I mean, to your point, and then I made like a quick like calculator thing for some AWS calculations, cost calculations, a couple days ago, and the style that it used was still very similar to that style. So there's something in the way that it is, especially it always uses Tailwind, but the way that it's designing things it does not have the creativity out of the box to give you different designs, which is really interesting. With something that's a generative AI, you'd think it would have more flexibility there. It always looks like Bootstrap. That is very true. I didn't think about it in those terms, but that is very, very true. That it does seem to always look like Bootstrap, or at least like a more modern version of Bootstrap. Yeah, Claude Code is really just a back-end dev, so that's why all of its front ends look the same. I think that's actually kind of accurate, really, when you think about it. Since we're telling it to just do whatever it wants, by the way, you notice it's not popping up with any code. It's just doing everything. That's always interesting. We're going to be creating some jobs next. Interesting. Creating service classes for. Let's look at the code base. See what it's doing here. We've got our models, services. So we've got a consumption service. Move this over to the side. For some reason, when you make that really small, it gets real jittery. Let's see. Consumption log, create inventory item or flavor. First, update inventory. Interesting. Okay. What's interesting here is like if you're building a bigger application, you probably want your inventory. Well, here's an inventory service. It has an inventory service. I would think you'd want an inventory service that handles this part too, like the whole thing. I don't know. That's the abstractor in me coming out. Delete consumption, get user consumption stats. Yeah, I agree, Ming. That's why I say AI coders are basically back-end developers. They don't write very good front-end code, but they're pretty good at back-end code. I think part of that's because back-end code is more of a logical... it's more based on logical processes rather than the front end, which is... It has logical processes as well, but it's also based largely on design and subjective look and feel, and so that's why I think it can follow designs, but it doesn't come up with them on its own, right? Kind of like me. I can follow a design, I can build out a design, but you don't want me to design your application. That's for sure. All right. You notice this was already done, but it was still doing that weird flicker thing. I don't know why it does that when it's small, but oh well. It's like it can't figure out where it is or when you move it. Okay. See, it's all scrunched up here. Let's see. Phase 3, coffee nutrition now enterprise ready. Ooh, look at that claim. It's now enterprise ready. With production quality code. Oh, I don't know about that. Comprehensive logging and automated background processing. All right, let's go move on. Phase 3. Now we're getting to the front end. We're going to build some Vue.js front end components. Let's see what those look like. We're going to our Vue resources, JS, components. A lot of this is built in from Laravel, the Laravel starter kit, composables, layouts. Probably using the app layout. Pages. All right, so we got some pages here. What are we doing? What are we building? Resources JS dashboard with real coffee inventory data. Okay. Is it going to add some data? Because good afternoon or morning. It's still morning. Good morning, Gopher. Glad to see you. So, yeah, Gopher, what we're doing is I made some posts on LinkedIn this last week, and around it was really just kind of a joke around the fact that I took the last coffee pod. If you want to go read through it's, I had a post Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of this week, and talking about how we ran out of coffee pods, and so I made a big deal out of it. And then Friday, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna fix this problem. I'm gonna vibe code a an application to manage. Um, yeah, there you go. Man, you're way out there. So I said I'm going to vibe code an application to manage our Keurig pod inventory at work. So uh, Australia has good coffee there, Dan. I'm not really a coffee connoisseur as much as I've kind of dived into this. So anyway, Gopher, what we're doing is we're vibe coding a coffee inventory app to manage our Keurig pods. Really just for fun, mostly so that I can link to this video from LinkedIn on Monday. But also just because I'm kind of curious to see how how it does, right? Because AI is getting better all the time. I'm using it more and more, so I'm learning how to interact with it better. So one of the things that we did while that's running is so we created we asked it to create a prompt for an LLM to architect and develop a Laravel View inertia app based on criteria that I give it in successive chats, right? And so it gave us this prompt, which we tweaked a little bit, and then we copy pasted that prompt into a new chat as kind of a system prompt. So we copy pasted that in, and then we gave it the information for what we were wanting it to build, right? And basically, this is really the main crux of it. Create a complete inventory management system for managing purchasing and inventory for Keurig coffee pods for development office kitchen. So, oh man. So my dad told me about what he calls Vietnamese coffee. I think that's what you're saying. Viennese? Is that Viennese or Vietnamese? I don't know. Vietnamese coffee with the sweetened condensed milk. Oh, Vienna. Okay, my bad. But to get back to what I was saying, which was inaccurate to what you were saying. So Vietnamese coffee has sweetened condensed milk in it, and that is fantastic. I grew up with sugar and like creamers and things like that. All you need is that sweetened condensed milk. You get the sweet and the milk. I mean, it is fantastic. I haven't been drinking it that way recently, just to give me a break, honestly. But that is what I prefer. Once I tasted it with sweetened condensed milk, it's very hard to go back from that because that is fantastic. But anyway, so that's what we're doing, Gophers. We're vibe coding this based off of ooh. We haven't been here yet. Okay, so here's our dashboard that it just created. We've just been staring at our Claude code. Interesting. So if you'll notice, so this is something that I want to point out here. So back up here, we successfully built a complete production-ready coffee inventory system. Front-end interface, dashboard, inventory management, consumption tracking, interactive components, modals, forms, real-time charts. So modals, forms, filters. I don't see dashboard inventory index. Okay, so we have inventory index. Is there a way to manage flavors? So like, I don't see any way to actually manage stuff. Flavors, brands, management, ready. What does that mean? That means it's not built yet, right? So yeah, let's go back over here. So if you'll notice, we've got some alerts. That's cool. In stock. Everything's in stock. Low stock alerts, popular flavors, recent consumption. So we've got some interesting things, but there's nothing over here. And let's just for kicks, let's kill this and rerun npm run dev and reload that. And yeah, so we don't have any way of actually getting to, so like let's inventory. I hate this. I need more RAM. It's getting stuck. Inventory. Okay, so it actually has a path here with some filtering, which looks horrible. But there's no way to get to it, right? So again, this is, okay, we've got to just, what happened to our layout? Like, what is this? This is junk. If I hit cancel, okay, it goes back here. But like, what, is that like the whole, it says we're on the same page. That's just a horrible overlay. Ugh. Yeah, that's just that's terrible design. Terrible. Okay. So let's close that. All right. So, but there's no way to get to this, right? And this is what I was talking about earlier. When you when you just kind of let Claude just vibe code something, it does really well at a lot of things, but especially front end. It just misses things. It thinks that it has created things, and that's where, you know, having it build the checklist is really important for it to follow. But you've got to make sure that that checklist actually includes everything, especially on the front end side. Like I said, it does a really good job on the back end side, especially for just basic applications, especially if you're in a specific framework and things like that, right? But for some reason on the front end, it doesn't think through, or it doesn't predict really the necessity of having links to different places. And a lot of times it'll have problems with actually having these forms work, right? So I could do like testing, total cost, we'll say $2. Adjust inventory. Okay, that actually did something. I didn't see what I'll have to go back and look at what the pod number was. Let's just look in our database and see if it did anything. We'll refresh this. Consumption favors. Where is that? That'd be inventory adjustments. Okay, so it put an inventory adjustment in here, so that's interesting. Okay. But that's something that I've noticed with these front end designs. It fails to do that. It fails to do sometimes even just the routes themselves. Don't work for like edit. So it's interesting. So there's some things here, and then obviously it just straight up chose not to build something here, right? So there you go. And that's why you need actual front end devs for design. Yeah, I think that's the case. And again, I think AI is very helpful if you have designs, but just telling it to go and build something doesn't always work out for everything that you want to do, right? So theoretically, users can do all these things. Okay, it does say that it's got mobile. So let's see what it looks like here. We'll refresh. So some of this is mobile friendly, but like, so if you're actually designing an application, you're not going to put, hopefully you're not going to put tables in like this, right? You're going to probably change to cards or something like that, right? Gopher says the problem is it can't recall the entire project context and what was done for what reason. If you vibe code along, you'll solve issues which were never meant to be solved in the first place, and you end up with a rough rug fairly soon. Yeah. Well, I'll be honest with you, Gopher. If you have it build out, so that's one of the things that we had to do in the very beginning. I had it take, and we can't get back to it now at this point. But my original prompt in here was to take the explanation or the information from our MD file, right? So we've taken the information from MD file, and I wanted to summarize. So I said, summarize what's in this file here, and tell me what we're building, and then off of that, I want you to I want you to keep track or build a list of tasks off of this information and then keep track of it as we go. Now, another thing that I will typically do if I'm working with an LLM and I'm letting it write code a little bit more heavy, then I will actually jump out of. I will change context. I will close this down and open a new Claude Code tab so that it gets new context and tell it to look at the rules and look at the checklist that we've stored. And I will have it actually store the checklist in a file. That really helps with that context issue that you're talking about, Gopher. I found that to be really, really beneficial. Eats up some more of your tokens, but I think it helps in the long run, keeping it on track, keeping the scope short and small for what you're actually doing at the time. And again, so that's why, again, I'm not going to recommend anybody do this the way that we're doing it now, especially because we're going to have to go back and tell it all the issues that it came up with, like not being able to actually go anywhere in the application. All right, do it. Advanced features like email notifications, write comprehensive tests. So it knows to write tests, so that's interesting. I don't know how comprehensive they will be. So that's one of the problems. So if it were writing front-end tests, then it should be writing tests that actually attempt to click on like menu items and have the page load, right? So that's a problem. That it probably won't write the test for that, which that's something that we as developers should and would hopefully think through when it comes to that. Dan says, different track totally with the question here, but what do you think about the traditional separate front end back end? I love inertia, but I'm wondering if you have a take on whether it should have a separation. So for me, it depends on the size of the project. That and just obviously outside of that, the knowledge and experience of the developers working on it, really. So kind of twofold. For larger projects, I would prefer to keep them separate, mostly because then I can put people who are more expert on those things working on the things that they're better at. If it's a smaller project that, then a lot of times we'll just have one dev working on it, or maybe a dev and a lead working on it, and it doesn't make sense to split up the responsibilities there. So a lot of it just comes down to, I think, how many people you can put on the project. But I would say, in general, I would prefer to keep them separate. So my ideal dev team, and I've said this for years, so you can check with some former coworkers, but my ideal dev team, let's say you've got 5 developers, right? My ideal dev team would have somebody who is heavier. I would prefer for them all to be full stack, but somebody that's heavier front end, that's somebody that's heavier back end, somebody who is maybe just kind of the same on both or doesn't care. A lot of that comes down to what they enjoy more. So somebody who just doesn't care either way, and they're good at both, right? They're good at both, not necessarily a rock star at either one, but they're good at both. They're competent at both. And then a junior dev, because that junior dev is going to grow throughout the process of the project. The dev that is more general full stack, they're going to be able to jump in and help whichever side needs help at the time. And then you've got your 2 front end, back end leaning devs. So if I could have a 4-person team, now maybe they work on multiple projects together, but if I could have that makes it easier to split up different types of jobs. You've got the back end can get rolling on certain things before the front end starts, potentially, hopefully. And maybe that means the full stack guy is helping the back end for the first, couple weeks, and then the full stack guy jumps to help the front end for the next few weeks, kind of get caught up. So I like flexibility, but I also like putting people in a place where they shine the most. And so for me, it's less about the right way of doing a project, and it's more about the right way of managing people within that project. So, but if I could build my dev team, like that's how I would prefer to do it, because then you've got mentoring and bringing on a junior dev and allowing them to grow into the system, right? So um, that would be my preference, even if it's all in the same monolithic uh, repository like we have here, right? I still prefer the front end devs to be able to work on just the front end and the back end devs to work on the back end, but then have people that are flexible enough to jump on back and forth and help wherever we need to. So that would be my preference. Again, not every project can afford that level of team size. So you're kind of stuck with whatever you have. But if I could have my ideal, that would be my ideal. Siming says I've used it for testing, but it still makes mistakes. Oh yeah, it's got tons of mistakes. Uh, just keep it all React and Node and Next.js. No. I think that NPA, SPAs, SSR projects are all reasonable, independent of the size. It's more about what the front end does. Yeah. I will say though, I've got a project right now for a client, and the person who built the project, they wrote, it's basically a website. So they wrote the website in React. Um, I'm trying to remember now if they used Next.js or not. I don't remember. They might. I think. I don't think they're using Next.js, because I think that's part of the problem. So I don't think they're using Next.js, which means they don't really have any sort of server on the front end. Um, but they are making API calls to other applications and storing data. And we actually need to store some data from the website, like contact forms, in their main application. They do have a backend, but the backend's written in Python, and it's not really it's not a full blown API, right? It just does a couple of different things. So we're going to have to completely update that backend API, since they don't use Next.js, to accept information, so that we don't put application keys and stuff in the React code, right? There's just things, and I'll be honest with you, this was mostly written by a junior dev, perfectly fine individual, but they just don't have the experience, to think through some of those things. So, um, you know, I'm okay with those standalone front end applications, but I think a lot of times those typically get developed by people who don't have maybe the experience and the knowledge to know some of the pitfalls that you might run into with developing things like that. So let's see. Most likely React because KCSR, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Let's see what's going on here. Coffee inventory system now has a complete email notification structure. Excellent. Probably won't even be able to test that. Write comprehensive tests. Optimize performance and add final punish. Go. We've only got about 25 more minutes, so we'll see if it can get done in time, and B, if we still have. Notice how it expanded out the number of things it needs to do for this phase. So that's kind of cool. It creates some more updates to its checklist. But yeah, there's definitely some issues here, right? So not having anything on there's nothing in here. Yeah. So Laravel View or Laravel Starter Kit, gives you a lot of these things out of the box. Your profile management. Oh, nope. Go back. Light and dark mode. So we're not really accounting for that in our design. So we'll just go with this. I'm more of a light mode guy anyway. one of the applications we're developing is basically just dark mode. And it kind of drives me, it looks cool, but it drives me crazy because I prefer a light mode myself. But someday I will force the team to put light mode in there. Da, da, da. Okay, where are we at? Still thinking. Error writing file. That's never good. Feature flavor test. Maybe that's because you don't have any actual flavor stuff going on. Inventory tests. So we're going through adding stuff. Save electricity. I don't know how much it actually saves electricity. Let's just for fun. Let's ask Claude. All right, we'll do chat this time because I don't want to use up my tokens. Come on, chat. I cannot type today. Does dark mode save electricity? Wow. If your device has an OLED or AMOLED display, dark mode can noticeably reduce power usage. That's because each pixel lights up individually, so the black pixel is literally off, using almost no power. Studies have shown savings anywhere from 5 to 30%. Huh. Interesting. You learn something new every day. I mean, it sort of made sense anyways when you said it, but it also depends on the type of screen you have, though. So, like, I think both of my screens are LCDs, not LEDs, so it's not going to help me a lot. I don't know if my MacBook has an LED. I don't know. All right, let's get back over here. Let's see what's going on. Man, it's still thinking. Oh, look what it found out. It needs a factory. So it's got to build a factory out now. See, stuff that it didn't know about when it made its original plan. See, this is where, getting back to kind of Dan's point, like, this is where you would probably want to spend a lot more time diving into creating the rules and the checklist with AI, so that you help it find the things that it's not thinking of. And so that's where I think you're going to spend a lot to do it well and to allow Claude Code to code well. You're going to spend a lot more time on the front end. I still think that a lot of it can be spent on the front end and reproduced, reused, right? So, there are things like standards for how you write tests and standards for ensuring that you create menu options and things like that you can copy paste into most of your applications that you're developing that you want Claude Code to work on or some other AI assistant to work on. And so I think there are ways, even just breaking that up into different files that have different purposes, right? So you could have instruction files around testing. You can have instruction files around navigation, front end design. You can have instruction files around theme. Even let's say you're okay with the base design style, but you just want to update the colors. Have a design style around that, and that way you can reuse a lot of those files from one project to another. Especially, like, for example, Dan, you're using Elixir, right? So since you're using that framework for a lot of the stuff that you do, it makes sense to have something that's reusable that you can move across different projects. We build a lot of stuff in Laravel, so it makes sense to have things that we can move across different projects within the Laravel ecosystem. Most of it is with Vue. So again, I think there's opportunity for us to create some reusable instructions and processes that will actually help us over time. So again, I don't think that it's I don't see AI as a, hey, this just saved me 15 hours. But I see it as a, hey, eventually this is going to save me 15 hours. So that's kind of where I'm at in that process. Yeah, you can use Storybook. I've used that before on projects. Um, Again, with that, then you're dealing with a lot of overhead on the front end for your kind of design and uh, RDP phase, research and development planning phase. Um, and that's not bad. I know everybody's like agile, anti waterfall, and all this stuff. There's nothing wrong with planning out your process ahead of time, right? Um, you need to do some sort of planning, even if you're doing agile, you're doing MVP features, things like that. You still have to plan those things out. So yeah, again, to your point, Dan, that does make sense. If you're going to use, that's the beauty of using frameworks, whether that's a CSS framework or a PHP framework or whatever, right? The beauty of frameworks is as long as you don't customize too much, a lot of it can be ported over from one project to another and tweaked. So yeah, no, I mean that's very cool, and I think I don't think it has to be Tailwind, but I think eventually, if you want that type of portability, you're going to create something like Tailwind. It's just going to be your own classes rather than Tailwind classes, right? So there you go. Yeah, that's a good point, Ming. Using Storybook after you've already built the components. Um, Again, I think a lot of it comes down to, do you have the time? Is the client willing to pay for you guys to do that work up front? Do they understand the value of it later on? Because it really does speed things up. I've worked in a few environments where they had a component library, and it wasn't a storybook, but even just using a public component library like MUI, right? So use something like MUI. It just makes it faster to do basic things. Anything that the framework automatically does, it's just faster. Oh, hey, we got another follower. We're up to 11 followers. I don't know who did that, but maybe that was Gopher. Uh, awesome. On the Twitch side, at least. I don't know if we have any more followers. I think we're losing followers on the YouTube side. Hey, Zick. Good to see you. Welcome. In case you don't know what's going on, we're doing some vibe coding here. Oh, it stopped. I should probably tell it to keep going. Keep going. Let's see. So we're vibe coding an application to track Keurig pod consumption in my company's office. It's not real. We're just doing this for fun. This is based off of a series of posts that I made over the last few days on LinkedIn. So just as a joke. And the last one said I'm going to vibe code an application to make sure that we never run into this problem again, which is a problem of running out of Keurig coffee pods. So if you want, you can go to LinkedIn, go to my LinkedIn profile. It should be in my about information, and you can find those posts there if you want to follow up and see, what led to this monstrosity that we're that we're allowing Claude Code to build at the moment. So there you go. Oh, we got 2 followers today. Hey, look at that. We're just racking up the followers. Maybe we should vibe code things more often. I don't know. People are more interested in the vibe coding than they are in listening to me. So that makes perfect sense. I'm completely on board with that. But welcome, Zixty, if you're still here watching. Feel free, if you have a question for me, it doesn't have to be about what we're doing. If you have a question specifically for me, type at DevMentorDave like Dan did earlier in the chat. So that way I just see it usually a little bit faster that way. Gopher, you've never used LinkedIn. Where exactly are you at? I know you said you're UTC +1. Where is that? Is there anything interesting going on at LinkedIn? There's lots of things going on at LinkedIn. So I have a LinkedIn profile that I use for streaming, which is not my main one, LinkedIn. Um, and so I've found a lot of different things because once in a while I'll jump on. I used to have like a LinkedIn lunch and learn type thing where we would go through LinkedIn lunch live stream. That's what it was. LinkedIn lunch live stream where we'd go through and we would look at some posts and I would give my opinion on it and things like that. So, um, is it? I actually commented on this one. My other one is in the comment section here. Uh, what stopped you from coding? What's stopping you from coding like this? I said the straps that are on the keyboard. That's what's keeping me from coding like that. But you can find I can probably find my post in here. So yep, there it is right there. Most of the straps on the keyboard. So that's my real account. But this one is just for streaming. But there's a lot of I think there's a lot of junk on LinkedIn, Gopher, honestly. But I find that there's a lot of good humor. There's a lot of interesting things. There's a lot of things that I agree with, things that I don't agree with. So you know, it's a mixed bag. It's social media, so it's always going to be a mixed bag. Let's see. DACH area. Well, now you just know how stupid I am. Primarily trash and spam. A lot of it is. So it depends on Central Europe. Okay. So it depends on what you interact with, right? So the more things you interact with, the more it's going to think it knows what you want to see. So if you respond to stupid stuff, it's going to give you more stupid stuff. If so, the stuff that pops up on this profile is different than the stuff that pops up on my other profile because I specifically was trying to get content that would be helpful for junior developers. That's kind of the idea of the stream, right? Is more for junior developers than anything. But and so the content on here is going to be a little bit different. That's interesting. Anytime they throw Christian stuff in there, it always catches my eye. That's hilarious. Okay, sorry. For those of you who don't know, I'm also a pastor. So, um, anytime somebody's saying something about Christianity, it always catches my attention there. But yeah, LinkedIn is kind of what you make of it, right? It just totally depends. Oh no. Total flavors or exact. Let's see if it's dead. It looks like it's still trying to respond to it. It compacted our history. Surely we're going to be running out of tokens sometime soon. We've done a lot of coding. Remain control. Okay. Yep, there we go. We reached our session limit. All right. See, I told you we did that in about an hour. So, sessions limits reached. Resets at 3 p.m. So I've got to wait. Holy cow. 3 hours. 3 hours and 10 minutes. Yes, my eyes are that bad. That's why you got the arm in the screen. Yeah, so this is so I have the $20 a month Claude Pro. One of the problems that I have with Claude Pro is that I don't know if I can find where's the here we go. So Claude upgrade plan. So I'm using my personal plan and I'm doing it monthly here. So the monthly one, so I have the $20 plan. The next one up is that's yearly. Hang on. Go back. Pro plan. The next one is $100 a month. Now, if I were doing this full time, like again, my personal role, I don't write code full time anymore. If I were writing code full time, I would be really tempted to do the $100 plan if I could afford it. So there's another issue there. because again, you just saw, and again, I don't vibe code like we've been doing for in the real world. So that tokens last a longer in the real world in the way that I typically use it. Um, but I do typically find myself running out of tokens before the 5 hour reset. So I would be much more tempted to do this because it's 5 times more. And it says 5 times or 20 times more pro. That's because your max, there's multiple max plans. It starts at $100, but you can increase it, I think, like to $200 or something like that. It gets crazy expensive. But yeah, so the $100 a month, um, it includes Cloud Code just like that. It has everything in here, but it gives you 5 times as much. So let's say, so we spent, vibe coding. We got about an hour's worth of vibe coding. So technically, theoretically, for 5 times as much money, I could go and pretty much do it all day, because um, based on what I've seen, I would be able to do just even vibe code pretty much all day long, which would be interesting. But for me specifically, I'm not going to do this just because I don't code that often, and I'm not going to pay $100 for it. So there you go. Let's see. Yeah, Discord. I have a Discord channel. I'm not real active in it. I use it mostly just for letting people know if I'm not going to be on the live stream, since I do live stream typically Monday through Friday from 4 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. Central U.S. time, and then here on Saturdays from 10 to 12, 10 to noon on Saturday mornings typically. So I because it's fairly frequently, I try to make sure and let people know on the live stream if I know I'm not going to be there, but then also in our Discord server. So feel free to jump in our Discord server, and chat and things like that in there. I'm not necessarily as involved in that. Again, I use it more for interaction. But this is this is where we're at. We're at an error, and we can't vibe code anymore because we ran out of tokens. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to post about this on Monday to continue the saga of the Keurig pod management within my company. So curious how much better Claude would be in day-to-day use. Again, I think it depends on a lot of things. It depends on how you use it. The rules that you put in place as you go, as you learn how to use it. I think any of them are going to get better the more you use it and the more you learn how they help you in that process. So I think that's really good. That is the key, more than necessarily the model that you're using. Do models make a difference? I believe they do. Is it that drastic of a difference? Probably not at this point. I think ChatGPT has caught up with Claude in many ways from a development, from a code writing standpoint. I feel like Claude is easier to integrate. Then you've got like Cursor, you've got Copilot, you got lots of different you got lots of different options there. I just saw your message, Ming. Youthful Grandpa Dave loves doing press ups on stream. No, I don't, and there's a reason why I still have this girth, because I don't do push-ups. I need to. I need to really badly catch up with my son, who's at basic training. So he should be getting back at the end of October. So, excuse me. He's doing National Guard, so it's not full-time military, but yeah, not doing the push-ups. So yeah, I have seen that, Dan, that you're trying to get chat to happen a little bit more, we just need to get more people in there to interact. I don't think I'm ever going to have time to be that active in it. It's been interesting as I moved into the role that I currently have. I just have far less time somehow. It's all filled with meetings instead of writing code. So I have a lot less time than I did 2 years ago. Really, man, it's been 2 years since I've been live streaming. Well, at least YouTube. So that's crazy. Anyone else on the Discord stream? Been trying to do it a bit more. Yeah, hopefully we'll get some more people in there and just interact. Talk about stuff that you guys are doing. I would say that I'll try to do that. I just don't know, quite frankly, how much time I'll have to do that. Right now, again, I'm just using it mostly to keep everybody informed. So, uh, yeah, I do not come late on purpose ever. And we need to get the coffee mug thing set up to where, if I'm late, we're sending out collecting points or something to send out some coffee mugs. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, I did about a year ago. I ordered just a few Dev Mentor Dave coffee mugs, but I've never really used them, and I don't sell them. So, I mean, this is not a money making channel. This is just more. It's more for me to enjoy interacting with you guys and hopefully be helpful. That's really the goal, especially of the weekday live streams, the workday recap from 4 to 4:30. My goal is to be able to answer questions for you guys, take things from my day or your day or the situations that you're dealing with and help you guys kind of walk through those, think through them from multiple perspectives, especially now that I've moved into much more of a management, well, not just much more, a completely management level outside of coding. I don't code as much anymore. Most of it's on the side. I have the knowledge and experience from being a developer and now being in management. I think I can give you guys perspectives from both sides and hopefully help you maybe have a more well-rounded understanding of the dev life cycle, right? And how we, not just development life cycle, but us as devs and our life cycle and journey. And everybody's journey is different, but I think we have some good conversations. So always feel free to throw a question into the chat if you're watching live, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Twitch. We're live streaming in both places at the same time. Don't really do any videos anymore just because of time. So everything we've got is live streamed at this point in time. So that's why we do the live stream Monday through Friday and then here on Saturday for a longer one. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and shut it down for today, probably a minute early here or so, and I apologize for that, but my voice is getting tired. So there you go. If you have something to say and you're watching this on YouTube later, leave it in the comment section. I do read those. And I will often respond either in the comment section or I'll respond on a live stream or both. So it just depends. If it's an interesting question or topic or even criticism, feel free to throw that out there too. I can take criticism. So anyway, thanks for the follows, guys. If you followed here on the Twitch side, jump over to the YouTube side, check out the channel over there. There's some older videos that are just videos back when I had time to be able to make videos that maybe will be helpful for you in different areas of your journey. Hit the like button on those. Hit the like button on the live stream over there. Hit the subscribe button over there if you're not subscribed. All the fun things that all of us YouTubers and live streamers want you to do to make us successful. So anyway, we actually had a lot of people on the Twitch side jumping in over the last couple hours. Obviously people come and go. This is not what we've been doing, isn't necessarily for everybody, especially in the times when it's just me talking. But hopefully it's been helpful or entertaining or both for you over the last couple hours here on the live stream. Again, reminder, we'll be here most Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 12 noon Central United States time. And then we're here for about 30 minutes every Monday through Friday, most Monday through Fridays, from 4 o'clock to 4:30 p.m. Central United States time in our workday recap. And yeah, hopefully this was fun. And I'll see you guys hopefully on Monday. It should be on Monday. I do have I think I am going to the office on Monday, and we've got some new stuff going on, but I should be back in time for Monday. Again, if for some reason I'm not able to jump on, I will leave a message in the Discord channel. So if you're not part of the Discord server, jump in that so you'll be notified if for some reason I'm not able to jump on the live stream on Monday. Anyway, have a great weekend, guys. Thank you for jumping in here, for participating, for joining the conversation. And it didn't get a whole lot of mockery this time. So we need to up the ante on that, right? We need some more mockery. Don't just accept everything I say as true, right? Here you go. It's more like an hour, not 30 minutes. Well, I try to keep the workday recaps at 30 minutes. I've been doing better at that too, but if you guys get me off on a specific topic that really grinds my gears or something like that, then it will definitely extend past 30 minutes. 30 minutes. So, especially if people jump in late and then give me a good topic, it does that as well. Muted. I'm muted? What are you talking about, Ming? I don't think I'm muted. My software doesn't say I'm muted. Oh. Oh, weird. Okay. Well, anyway, I'm getting off. So have a good day, guys. Have a good weekend. I will see you all hopefully back here on Monday.